Hi, I'm Lisa and welcome to my channel. This is my random recipes. These are the desserts. I'm still working my way through the cakes. Today's recipe is from my Dorothy Dean cookbook. This cookbook was a subscription through our local newspaper several years ago. The recipes that were printed in the newspaper were sent out by mail to the subscribers once a month. Today's recipe is called Apple Crumb Coffee Cake. Don't let the name fool you. It can be made with just about any kind of fruit that you can think of. The recipe calls for fresh apples, and those are fine. The possibilities are just about endless. I have made this with canned apple pie filling, but also with lemon, with blueberry, pumpkin. Today I'll be making mine with cherry pie filling. And the coffee cake has a crumb topping, but you can even swap out the type of sugar in the crumb topping from white sugar to brown sugar, depending on what kind of fruit you plan to use. I think you're going to like this one, if for no other reason, because it's so versatile. Let's get to work. This is actually pretty quick, pretty easy. I'm going to start by turning this down so you can see. First, we're starting off with our butter. We have 1/4 of a cup of butter. Believe it or not, that's been sitting out for a while. I guess the weather's not that warm, so they don't soften up all that much. And then 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Okay, we're supposed to cream this together. It's sitting out for hours, but it's still pretty hard. You just kind of break it up. We'll come back to that some more in a minute. And we have 1 egg. I'm going to beat that up just a little bit. And this goes. I'll mix this more because the moisture from the egg will help get the sugar dissolved. Okay, that looks better. Next, 1/2 cup of milk. So these are our wet ingredients. I'll stir this a little bit more. So then I'm going to set that aside for just a moment. So then we have our flour. So this is 1.5 cups of flour. We're going to sift that. It calls for 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1, 2. Give that a little bit of a stir, and then we add our salt. This is 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and just a little stir. So now we're going to add our wet ingredients to our dry. I think I might have to go in with my hands. I'm going to push my sleeves up. Get to work on this guy. Okay, let me wash up. So I'm going to set my batter aside for a moment. We're going to make our crumb topping. So we need 3 tablespoons of butter. This is supposed to be softened. Again, it's the same butter I was using for the other. Not as soft as I'd like it to be, but it is what it is. And 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Mash that down, get it creamed together a little bit. We'll call that good for now. So next, we're going to add a tablespoon of flour and a teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Kind of balance out the sweetness, I guess. So this is going to be our crumb topping. Once we get this mixed together, we can assemble our coffee cake. In this application, having the butter being kind of chunky is not a bad thing because it'll kind of caramelize the crumb topping a little bit. Let's get our pan going. This is going to go into a 9x9, and yes, I have pre-treated this. This is got pan spray. Now we're going to spread this out in our pan. Need something a little stronger. I'll get it in there with my hands again. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, let's get our pie cherries. Now, this calls for 2.5 cups of Tart Apples. I'm going to use, this is I think 2 cups. 2 cups of a third. So we're just going to scoop that out. And now we're going to spread this out. That looks pretty good. I want to get in that corner there. Okay, that works good. All right, now we're going to do our crumb topping. I actually use my hands again, so I just kind of break it up and kind of drop globs of it on top of the cherries. And again, so this, with having the butter in clumps, is really not a bad thing in this particular application. That should work pretty nicely. Okay. Let me wash up one more time. This is going to go into a 375-degree oven. It's going to be for about 35 to 40 minutes. I'll be back when it's done. The coffee cake is out of the oven. I've let it cool for about an hour, a little over an hour. So kind of syrupy almost on the top. So let's go ahead and cut out a piece and see what we've got. It was kind of hard to tell if it was actually done. I used a toothpick on the cake portion, and that was fine. The fruit is still pretty syrupy. See if I can get that out in one piece. There you go. I'll turn this around so you can see the inside there. That looks pretty nice. So I mean, yes, there's a lot of syrup from the cherries, but there's also a nice little cake underneath there. There's the finished product. That's really good. See, I've done a lot of different flavors with this before, but I've never done the cherry. I do like it. This cherry has definitely got a dominant flavor. The cake is nice and springy. It's done all the way through. It's good. Now the crumb topping kind of apparently melted into it. So this is the apple crumb coffee cake, but I made it with pie cherries this time. It's actually really good. I mean, I made it with pumpkin before. I made it with lemon. I've made it with blueberries. I made it with fresh apples. I made it with canned apple pie filling. There are a lot of choices. I am sure there's others you could think of that I just haven't thought of. It goes really well with a brunch or for a potluck. It goes well with a nice warm beverage. It makes a nice light dessert. Plus, it is pretty easy to make, and you can pretty much use any kind of fruit or topping that you could think of. Use what you like and use what's in season. And it is just so versatile. Well, next time I'll be going back to making a chocolate cake. That's always a good choice. However, I will be for the very first time in my whole life making homemade cooked frosting on the stove. I have never done that before. The thought of that kind of scares me. Come back next time and you might get to watch me fail at making frosting. I'll include the ingredients and the preparation for apple crumb coffee cake in the description below. Plus, I'll include some variations that you might want to try, and even how you can switch out the crumb topping and make it a brown sugar instead of a white sugar, for depending on what kind of fruit you use. If you have any questions or other feedback for me, please feel free to reach out to me in the comments. I really do love hearing from you. If you do give this recipe a try, please drop an emoji into the comments to let me know what you think. If it was yummy, if it was icky, or somewhere in between. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really would appreciate that. It helps my channel to continue to grow. Thank you for joining me on my journey through the desserts and through the cakes. I will see you again next time. Bye.